I'm Taylor Miller, and I'm going to be doing a book talk on Lock and Key by Sarah Dessen. Age level for reading is about 10 to 12th grade. It's young adult literature, so there's a lot of upper vocabulary, and it's a very deep book that I think you need to be more mature in order to read and understand. I really loved this book for many reasons. I think it taught a lot of life lessons, and I hope that you will see that within this book talk. Um, the book was about a girl named Rudy who ended up starting out living with her mother, and they kind of had a rough family relationship. Her sister left when she was younger, and she left for college, and the mom kind of shut the sister out of her life and kept moving and stuff. Trying to not keep and connect with the sister because the sister chose to leave, and the mom saw that as, well, you're leaving us and you don't need to keep staying in our lives. And her dad had left when she was really, really young, and so the mother had started drinking and not really doing a lot with her life, and she kind of took a lot of things out on Rudy. And Rudy ended up actually living on her own one time when her mother ended up leaving her. She was 17 years old, about to be 18, going to college, and her mom left. And she was sort of used to this. Her mom had kind of left here and there, whatever. And so she ended up going and just living in the house on her own, doing the job that she'd been doing with her mother, which was picking up airplane baggage and distributing it. So she kind of did that here and there, paid the bills, but basically she lived in a dump, and she just survived the best she could for about a month until the Honeycutts, which were their landlords, had come and found her and saw that she had like a clothesline across the kitchen. She was basically living in feces and just a nasty situation. And so then her sister ended up taking care of her, and her sister is older and married to a guy named Jamie. Her sister's name is Cora, and at first it's really awkward because Rudy feels like she has to, that everybody's having to take care of her, and she doesn't want anyone to feel that way. She wants to be independent, and she doesn't want anybody else to have to like take care of her and feel responsible for her. And so she ends up planning to run away in the beginning. She doesn't really want to put all of the responsibility of her on her sister, so the first night that she's there, she never unpacks her bag and tries to slip over the fence to the neighbor's house, and actually ends up getting caught, but meets the neighbor in the process who covers for her, and they end up being friends. His name is Nate, and he ends up giving her rides to school. And in the beginning, she wasn't trying to meet anybody, wasn't trying to be friends with anybody. She just kind of wanted to live on her own. She figured once she turned 18 in a couple months that, everybody would be fine with her just leaving again, and she didn't need to like really make any roots there. And so she goes to school and kind of just goes through the process, and in turn ends up actually making friends and learning that sometimes it's nice to rely on people, and sometimes it's nice to really care for people, in that not every situation is going to be like how her mom and her situation was, and that sometimes people do care, and that friends reciprocate. And she ends up making friends with a girl in class who one day she asks to drive her to an old boyfriend's place, and finds her other old best friend with the boyfriend, and gets really upset and gets really drunk and ends up getting blacked out in the woods. And her friend Nate finds out and goes saves her, and they end up getting closer and bonding through this process. Throughout the book, she also meets a lady at the mall and ends up working for her, and they have a really strong, growing relationship. And I think that both of them together end up growing in their personalities and their openness to people and relationships, and seeing that there's more to the world than what they've experienced so far. And at the very end of the book, you will see that Nate and her, they get really close, but Nate's been hiding a secret, and it hurts that he won't let her in. And at the end of the book, you'll see that maybe things change. Maybe people can change. And so I just thought this book was absolutely incredible. I cried when I was reading it, and I highly recommend it to people who have a really good empathy and like really feel for a book. You're going to feel for the characters in this book, and you feel like you grow along with the characters. So I thought it was wonderful. I highly recommend it. Sarah Dessen does not disappoint, and I just think that everyone should read more, learn more, get to experience more emotions, and see that there's different sides of life. and be opening to change. So thank you. I also want to include some of my favorite quotes from the book that I did not previously mention. So here are a couple of them that I think are really good moral and broad quotes. But wasn't that always the way? It's never something huge that changes everything, but instead the tiniest of details, irrevocably tweaking the balance of the universe while you're busy focusing on the big picture. So sometimes I think that says that small things make a difference, and that sometimes you can't really see how things are going to turn out if you're looking at the wrong side of things. So just always something to keep in mind. Another one that I really liked is, the worst thing you can do is miss or need someone, I said, is to let them know. So this was during a part where he was getting over his girlfriend. Nate was getting over Heather, his ex-girlfriend, and Rudy noticed it and could see, and she was just like, you're being very obvious about it, and the worst you can do is let him know that you miss him. And I thought that was fun advice, because I feel like that is actually a lot of really valid advice all the time here. And then my last quote that I really like too: a lot can change between planning something and actually doing it, but maybe all that really matters is that anything is different at all. So sometimes things don't happen the way you plan, but the fact that things are happening is what's important. So those are a few of my favorite quotes. Just thought you should hear them, and maybe it will interest you to read more of the book. Thanks.